What's up guys, I'm Nick. Welcome to a video editing tutorial where I'll be showing you how to get started in your first video editor. So I'm going to be using Vegas Pro 19. There's a free trial for Vegas Pro. You can check it out here and I'll have a link in the description. You can use pretty much any editor out there. There are plenty of good free ones. Let's get started. We'll start a new project. Double check the settings. It should be 1080 by 30 and 1920 by 1080 on the resolution. It'll default to that, so just click OK. First thing to get started is to drop your footage in here. That is going to be done with this button, Import Media, and you can scroll to wherever that media is. It's also got an Explorer built in right here that you can drag it in from. Just drag it right into the timeline. And when it asks if you want to set your project video settings, click No. You can see you have your video tracks on top and your audio tracks below. If you want to modify any of these tracks individually, the first thing you're going to need to do is ungroup them. They come in grouped, so you can right click, go down to the group button and hit remove from. The shortcut's also going to be here, and that's U. Moving around, to move around the timeline, you have a slider here. You can scroll out to zoom out. You can use this over here. You can just scroll up and down. You'll have a lot of tracks, so you'll need to scroll up and down eventually. Now with your footage in the timeline, you can just press spacebar and it'll play. Press spacebar again to pause. You have all these controls up here as well in your previewer. Let's go through the previewer real quick. You have your project settings right there. That's from when you set up the project. You have your preview settings, which most of the times will be a bit lower so that you can render it full speed in real time. For this, it's in really bad quality because I'm recording this video. You should use the best quality your computer can handle as long as you can see it clearly. But for me, I've got it on draft and quarter, which is the lowest quality. So that's the previewer. So your video tracks are going to come with these buttons over here. This left button is for crop and for zooming and for other events like that. And this right button is FX. So this has a lot of more specialty filters and things like that. But we're going to use the crop tool. And here you can see, as I zoom in and out on this box, I can see my previewer zooming in and out. So you'll notice this is a different image than this. That's because my my crop tool has its own timeline. You can see how you can use this to get a better angle. If you ever get it messed up and you need to just have it the way it came in full screen, right click it, click restore. If you make any adjustments as you're going through the timeline, it's going to create a keyframe, and we'll go over that later, but just know that if you want your zoom effect to be on the whole picture, apply the zoom at the front of the timeline here. So close out of that. Now that you've got a good crop, you're ready to chop up your footage. So we're going to trim and split. So these are two different functions, and you'll find your own uses for when to use both of them. I find splitting to be a little bit more universal. Trimming can be convenient. Trimming is by dragging the edge of the footage, and you're just shortening the start time. So essentially shortening the footage, the front end, and you can do the same at the back end. So you can shorten this clip. But let's say I want to create subclips or create some events within the clip, slow motion, that kind of thing. What I'm going to do is split these clips. So I can tell here it changes frame. I'm going to hit S. The other way to do that, right click. There's a split function right here. I'm going to split that. And that'll let me modify each of these separately. So now that you've got all of your footage trimmed, which will take a while depending on how much you have, we will do some transitions. Where your project media is, you have different tabs, and you have a transitions tab that's got all of the things you'll need. But do know you also have video effects and media generation. Media generation is going to be for titles, video effects for those filters that I spoke about earlier. So you have dissolve. This is going to be the first transition at the top of the list. It's also default. This bar here, you can slide. You can see when I get to the right spot, it'll make that arc. That means I'm changing the fade in, fade out time. Lastly, I want to show you how to do titles. That way you can put a nice title on your video at the beginning, or a subtitle, whatever you want to do. Go over to media generation, go down to titles and text. And we'll just use the sample text. There are some other presets you can use if you want to try those out. You can change the scale. You can change the color. And I'll go over other things you can change to make it look a lot better in future videos. But do know that if you change the scale without changing the font, it's going to come out blurry. So if you want it to be bigger, actually you want to change the font. And you can type in your own font here if it doesn't go high enough. You can change the length of the title and other functions about it. So why don't we throw a transition on it, and we'll wrap it up there. I'm gonna make these transitions line up in length. It's a really easy trick to get things to look right. So now that you have your title on, you have some transitions, you're probably ready to render it. So come over to File, go down to Render As. It's different than Export. Go to Render As. And it'll give you a bunch of different settings over here. And you can experiment as you need to, but I'll show you the quickest and easiest ones to use. So go ahead and use MP4, Internet HD, and we're going to go to 30 FPS here. Internet HD 30 FPS. And I actually have my own build that's basically the same down here, and I'll go over how to make your own render templates, but go ahead and render it. It may take a few minutes, but at the end of that, you'll have a video you're ready to post. Well, hope that was helpful. You should be able to edit and render your first video now. Leave a like or a comment telling me how it went. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.